The entire school worships the aloof school belle, Bayo Ayu. However, on Valentine's Day, she unexpectedly confesses her feelings to Lin Yu in front of the entire school, even dragging him to the Civil Affairs Bureau for marriage registration. Later, she voluntarily moves into Lin Yu's rented house. When Bayo Ayu comes out of Lin Yu's bedroom, Lin Yu asked, "How about being proactive? Do you need to buy some necessities for your life?" Bayo Ayu bites her attractive finger, thinks for a moment, and then looks at Lin Yu, saying, "If there's anything essential in my life, it's probably you. My husband." Bayo Ayu looks at Lin Yu's shy expression and can't help but find it amusing, realizing how innocent he is in this era. As evening falls, after both have freshened up, Bayo Ayu even takes a bath, while Lin Yu plans to sleep in the living room with a blanket. At this moment, Bayo Ayu walks out of the bathroom and looks at Lin Yu, who is setting up the bed. She earnestly says, "Darling, tonight, let's not sleep in the living room, okay?" Lin Yu instinctively asks, "Then where do I sleep?" Bayo Ayu blushes a bit and says, "Darling, sleep here." She sits on the bed, pats the space beside her, and adds, "Tonight, you'll sleep on the bed. Sleeping on the sofa isn't good for your neck." Lin Yu's face turns red, and he stammers, "It's okay. I'll sleep on the sofa." However, when Bayo Ayu looks at her with those bright eyes, Lin Yu feels as if his body is not following the commands of his rational mind. But looking at Bayo Ayu's cute and charming appearance, he finally succumbs to his inner desires, thinking, "It's just sleeping. It shouldn't be a big deal." After Lin Yu finished washing up, he entered the bedroom while holding a blanket. Bayo Ayu was busy playing with her phone, and when she saw Lin Yu holding the blanket, she couldn't help but cover her mouth and smile. "Are you planning to sleep with a different blanket?" Lin Yu nodded, not daring to lift his head to look at Bayo Ayu. Bayo Ayu smiled slightly. "All right, go to sleep then." Lin Yu, who had been single for 20 years, had never shared a bed with a woman before. Bayo Ayu's soft and gentle breathing could be heard in Lin Yu's ears. Despite trying to force himself to sleep for half the night, he still couldn't fall asleep. He cautiously turned his head, only to meet Bayo Ayu's peacefully sleeping face. Since Bayo Ayu was already asleep, Lin Yu finally had the chance to freely gaze at her. She had a delicate nose, and her plump lips looked particularly charming under the moonlight. Her naturally fair skin seemed even more radiant in the moonlight, a breathtaking sight that Lin Yu had never witnessed in his 20-year life. Lin Yu felt his breathing becoming heavy. How could he possibly sleep with such a delicate and beautiful woman as his wife? Thinking that she was his wife, Lin Yu's mind started to wander, especially when Bayo Ayu's plump lips were so close. Suddenly, Bayo Ayu moved slightly, startling Lin Yu. He quickly turned over, fearing that his attempt to sneak a peek at Bayo Ayu would be discovered. However, Bayo Ayu merely shifted her arm and changed her position. Lin Yu breathed a sigh of relief, realizing he was being too bold. In the midst of his internal struggles, Bayo Ayu's leg pressed down on his thigh. Lin Yu's body stiffened, and by the moonlight, intense embarrassment and nervousness made Lin Yu feel as if his body was numb. Attempting to turn over, he accidentally exposed a certain area when Bayo Ayu lifted the blanket. That night, Lin Yu didn't know how he managed to fall asleep. He spent the night having some unexpectedly soft and charming dreams. When he woke up, he realized he was almost late. Panicking, he quickly got dressed, thinking he was running late for his morning class. However, Bayo Ayu emerged from the kitchen. "Honey, are you heading to class?" she asked. Lin Yu replied affirmatively, expressing concern about being late. Bayo Ayu insisted he shouldn't leave without having breakfast. She handed him a small bag containing sandwiches she had made, without having breakfast at home. Lin Yu arrived at school just in time for his class. Looking at the sandwiches and milk on his desk, he felt something was off. He wondered how Bayo Ayu knew his taste so well, especially considering that his habit of drinking frozen milk could be harsh on the stomach. Meanwhile, Bayo Ayu, with no morning classes, stood in the living room of Lin Yu's rented house. Memories flooded her mind as she surveyed the room. and a beautiful smile appeared on her face. Bai Youayu leisurely stayed at home as time passed. Soon, it was noon, and Lin Yu had good lifestyle habits. There were some fresh vegetables in the refrigerator. So Bai Youayu rolled up her sleeves and started preparing lunch. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Bai Youayu opened the door and found a middle-aged man standing there with a calm expression. "Miss, good afternoon," greeted the man. Bai Youayu sighed. "How did you all find this place?" The middle-aged man calmly responded, "Miss, finding out your whereabouts is not difficult." Bai Youayu pressed her lips together and asked him to inform the family that she wouldn't be returning home this semester. The middle-aged man nodded, mentioning that the master had acknowledged that Miss was grown up and she could make her own decisions. Bai Youayu added that she was married, causing the first reaction of emotion on the man's composed face, confirming her marriage. He agreed to help keep it a secret from the family, especially regarding the marriage. The middle-aged man then expressed curiosity, asking if Bai Youayu had found that person. She nodded confidently, stating that it was him. The man, known as Uncle Ming, smiled with relief. Bai Youayu appreciated his understanding and felt happy. Uncle Ming had watched her grow up and was the only person in the entire Bai family who knew her secret. If even Uncle Ming didn't approve, it would be challenging for her to withstand the pressure from her family. With the assurance of Uncle Ming, the steward, Bai Youayu finally felt relieved. At noon, as Lin Yu returned to the rented house, the aroma of food greeted him. Surprised that Bai Youayu, such a cute girl, could cook, Bai Youayu, with her hands together, tilted her head and said, "Honey, let's have lunch." It was a magical experience for Lin Yu, as the two of them, who had recently met, surprisingly clicked during their conversation. After a delightful meal, Lin Yu felt no more reservations in his heart. Bai Youayu seemed to understand him so well, even knowing things he had never told anyone. Then Lin Yu broke the tranquility with a question. "Yu, did we know each other before?" Bai Youayu hesitated for a moment, blushing slightly. "I told you not to call me Yu, and yes, we've met before." This cute and shy demeanor made Lin Yu's heart skip a beat. Although he knew the charm of Bai Youayu was strong, it was challenging for a man to resist such an enchanting presence. Noticing Lin Yu's gaze, Bai Youayu playfully scolded. "What are you looking at?" Lin Yu, once again captivated, hastily replied, "Yu, you're too cute." The atmosphere between them was both romantic and innocent, leaving them silent for a while, as Lin Yu stood up to clean the dishes. Bai Youayu remained in the living room, watching him. She couldn't help but smile, realizing that Lin Yu still didn't have romantic feelings for her. However, she also knew that he was doing all this out of a strong sense of responsibility. After finishing the chores, Lin Yu returned to the bedroom and preparing to go to work. She stood up and called out to Lin Yu, "Honey, you forgot your goodbye kisses." Lin Yu smiled, feeling a warmth in his heart. After Lin Yu left for work, Bai Youayu sat in the living room, thinking about the events of the day and feeling grateful for finding someone to share her life with.